What is up, Southern Cross Archives? I'm Thomas White, formerly the drummer of the Sign of the Southern Cross. And in this video today, I'm going to talk about my time in the band. I joined in summer 2009. A good buddy of mine told me about the band, said that I should check them out. So I did. I remember I went to their MySpace account and was listening to some of the material. It was definitely up my alley. They had that like southern sludgy groove metal thing about their sound, which I was really into. And I remember looking at pictures of the band, and I noticed that they didn't have a guitar player, they didn't have a drummer, and they were from North Carolina. So it got me thinking. I was like, man, I wonder if they're looking for members. This would be really fucking cool if I could join this band. So I got in touch with Seth. We spoke over the phone. He told me he was looking for members. And we set up a tryout date in Spartanburg where I was living. And he came down. We jammed on some of the songs for a couple hours, and he gave me the job. He also gave me the Mountains in Moonshine City to learn all the material with. And I didn't see Seth again till like fall or winter of that same year because we didn't have a guitar player. And so he had finally found someone around that point, and they wanted me to come to Canton, North Carolina, which is where Ranky was living. We were going to practice at his house. And so this is my first full practice with the band, and this is my first time meeting Ranky. So I remember I drive up there. I'm super excited. I'm sure they were too, because like, you know, we're ready to get this band going again. They've been dormant for a while. So I go up there, and I just remember that rehearsal just going terribly because the guy they got just wasn't prepared. He didn't really know the material that well. And he had like a really shitty combo amp. And Seth fired him right on the spot. We played like 2 or 3 songs, and he was like, man, this just isn't working. And I remember being really bummed about that. And so probably it had to be a few months passed by because we still didn't find anybody. And it was 2010 by this point, and that's when I got Ryan Sturm to join the band, or Big Perm, as some of y'all know. Ryan was a good friend of mine, still to this day. Great guitar player, great lead player. He listened to all the same music we did, so he was a perfect fit. I told Seth about him, and Seth reached out. They set up a rehearsal date in Spartanburg, and Seth immediately fell in love with Perm, you know, as a person and as a player. You know, he was definitely what the band needed. So that lineup continued for a few months. I'm not really sure. A few months went by. We did a few shows, and then Ranky ended up exiting the band, and that's how I brought my brother in, Devin White, on bass. And I think that lineup lasted till about 2011. In the beginning, for me, it was definitely an exciting time because I finally joined a metal band. I'm finally playing music that I want to play. And not to mention, the first band I joined were signed to one of the biggest heavy metal labels in the world. And that's just fucking crazy to think about. Like, looking back on that now, because I'm still out here doing it. I'm still touring, playing in a band. And to have the deal that Southern Cross had back then, today, it's just unheard of, especially for like a band that size. So yeah, really, really exciting times. And the other thing was too, like, we were so young. I was 23 at the time. Seth was like 20, 21. Perm was like 25. My brother was 19. So, you know, like when you're that age, you're just, you know, you're hungry, you're driven, you have all that fire and passion, and the world just seems like such a big, new, exciting place. We were ready to take on the world, you know, especially Seth and I. So I recorded drums on the I Carry the Fire EP. We did that in Asheville, North Carolina, I believe. The guy's name was Evan Bradford. Basically, it was his parents' basement that he converted into a recording studio. And I remember it really didn't take long. We knocked out drums in an afternoon. Me and Perm tracked everything live. Meaning he just played guitar while I played the drums, you know, and they recorded the drums that way. There was no click tracks. That's why some of those songs are kind of shaky tempo-wise. But yeah, I remember it was the first time I like recorded in a real studio, and I remember hearing the drums back and being really impressed because they sound so crisp and high definition. I wasn't used to that. So yeah, really cool, really quick too. The other thing I remember about that time was this EP really marked a turning point for the band's sound, because we were really trying to make a conscious effort to stop the Pantera comparisons. Especially Seth, he was really trying to find his own voice. And part of that too, like with the band's sound changing, I think it was kind of inevitable because whole new lineup, me being a death metal drummer and bringing that more like technical type of drumming to the band's sound, and Perm just being an all-around player. He could play blues, he could play funk, he could play metal, obviously killer lead player, but could play slide too. That's why there's a slide solo on the If You Find Yourself Looking Back song. And my brother, he was a funk player, he was a blues player, played with his fingers. He knew how to, play in the pocket and fill up space, without just playing exactly what the guitar was playing. And then Seth, obviously, brilliant vocalist. He was really trying to push himself to do something different on this record, again, to find his own voice. And lyrically, performance wise, I really think he did that. And that's the two main things I really remember about that record. I think what really killed that band was just the fact that we were young as fuck and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. None of us. Like, we really needed a manager. We really needed somebody to step in and show us what to do, how to make money, how to get on tours, all these things that, young guys in their first serious band are not going to know. And at the time, Seth was doing his best to manage the band. But, again, he didn't know what he was doing. So I think the band getting stagnant, things not happening, turned into frustration and turned into arguments. I would be like, let's do it this way. And then Seth would be like, no, let's do it this way. And Perm would be like, well, we tried that last time. Let's do it this way, or whatever it might have been. And yeah, the stagnation turns into frustration, turns into arguments. And then it just got to the point where we weren't doing anything. And I think we all just kind of got bored, and I started playing in another band. Perm started focusing on college again. And, Seth wasn't dumb. He knew what was going on. And he just saw that, I guess we weren't into it anymore like we were in the beginning. And I remember he texted everybody. It was like, guys, I can see your hearts aren't in this anymore. And I think it's just best if I take the band, elsewhere and find players that want to be a part of this thing, which, he had every right to do. It was his baby. And, he needed to find players that would give 110%, but I really think that's probably what killed the band. I definitely would be up for a reunion. However, it would have to be in the most perfect circumstances. Not because I don't want to do it. It's just I'm in another band now, and it takes up a lot of my time. It's really a second job for me. So we would really have to work things out, and it would just have to be, I think it'd have to be worth it for everybody's time to do it. But if we could, I'm all for it. I think it would be cool to kind of try to finish what we started. Because, Southern Cross was special. And I think at the time, and still to this day, man, it was kind of a special thing. We had a special sound, and there's no telling where the band would be now if we stuck it out, and somehow try to work things out, got a manager or whatever, I don't know. It's interesting to think, what if? But yeah, I mean, I totally would be up for a reunion. So I don't know. We'll see. I started a band in 2015 called Witchpit, which I'm still doing now. I play guitar in that band. We released a record last year on Heavy Sight Sounds. It's called The Way to Death. And we're currently working on our new record. And for fans of Southern Cross, you'll definitely be into this new material. It's more in the sludge groove metal genre, so be looking out for that. I'm not sure who's going to put that record out yet. Maybe Season of Mist. We'll see. But yeah, be looking out for that record. And this year we're playing Heavy Psych Soundfest in New York and Baltimore in November. We might have some dates with Weed Eater coming up in September, and then in November we might be doing some dates with Astro Dev from Australia. So yeah, look out for my band. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So check us out.